Okay, guys, how you doing? So we'll shift from French to English because our guest speaker this afternoon is actually not an English speaker,
Not
not
at
a
all,
native,
no.
not a French speaker anyway. Italian? Yeah, great. So Paolo Petrocelli is someone I meet in a very short week, and we developed such a relationship that he's actually here today to present a topic that is very interesting, that will push you outside of your comfort zone, really, with a lot of imagination, actually. I really appreciate your speak. He speak in many events, such as TED Talk, you know TED Talk? So he was one of the presenter at some event. I really don't know how to describe him, to be honest, because he's been involved in so many things. If you're going on his LinkedIn, he has 50 different titles. So I really don't know which one to use, so I may use some of them, if I may. So first of all, he's a full professor at Lewis University, which is a great university in Roma. Second of all, he's actually the co-founder and president of the Italian Youth Association for UNESCO. Third of all, he's the founder and president of Emma for Peace, which is an organization that has been created to gather all of the Nobel Peace in the world. So you may have a great network at the same time. So without further ado, Paolo Petrocelli, the floor is all yours.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me here. Thanks a lot, Benoit. We met with Benoit last year, I guess, and in France. And it was kind enough to invite me here. And this is actually my first time in Canada. And I want to let you know, guys, that we in Europe, especially in Italy, we are so interested in Canada, especially over the last years, because of the many good things that you guys are doing. Seriously. As you know, in Italy, we have always a lot of problems. Everywhere in the world, we have a lot of problems. But in Italy, we like problems, we like challenges, let's say. So, yes, you are a kind of inspiration for us, definitely. Your country, your people, especially the young generation, we need much more Canadians out there. So, quickly, got your degree, come also to Italy, some of you, please, just to inspire us and to share your values, your lifestyle. I drove around, I took a car over the last 4 days. I made 2,000 kilometers alone, traveling. I was so inspired by not only, of course, the beauty of your country, but about the positive energy that you can breathe everywhere and the sense of future, the sense of hope, what sometimes we are missing in Italy, especially over the last years, which is very sad for, well, I'm not so young anymore, I'm 33 years old, but living in a country without breathing every day, this, air of hope, future. Of course, we have challenges everywhere, also here. I'm sure you guys will have a lot of challenges. At least you have this positive approach to life. And this is something special, and yesterday I had another very great experience. Benoit invited me to have a dinner at his home. I eat fantastic salmon, and I experienced the Canadian hospitality. So, again, very happy to be here. Now, what I'm going to talk? Well, first of all, what about if I'm going to start this talk destroying my iPhone? First reaction from your side will be, this Italian guy is crazy. What he's doing, you will always immediately feel, uncomfortable maybe, and you will try to guess why I destroyed my iPhone. But in the end of the day, I destroyed my iPhone. It's not yours, you're not so interested. What about if I'm going here and I destroy the screen? You will say, we have a problem. You're going to call someone who's going to call the security. Benoit is going to say, why I invited this guy here, right? But in the end of the day, he will go back home saying, I was surprised that this guy destroyed the video, but it's not your video. Yeah, it's part of your community, right? But it's going to touch you not so much. What about if now I'm going on this guy? I took the phone and I destroy his phone. He's going to be upset with me, right? What about if I'm going to make some damage outside here in a very nice building of Montreal? With a hammer, I'm going to destroy part of this building. I think that actually a lot of people will get upset, the mayor, the police for sure. Why there is a different reaction to these different actions? Well, you can say because this is yours, we know the value of this product. It's kind of expensive, it's not so expensive, we know it. We all have it, we all might have it. Same for the screen, but already if you're talking about making a damage to an historical building, it's difficult to estimate the value, right? The dimension of the damage that I'm causing. Well, to better understand why we react such different way, we have to start from the very beginning. What is that? A graffiti from the very, very old days, right? It's similar to what we can find in a street. There are a lot of graffitis, amazing graffitis here in Montreal. Well, this used to be a graffiti back in the days, thousands and thousands of years ago. You see, mankind, they already have this need to express themselves with some kind of language. Of course, this is not a verbal language, but our grandparents wanted to fix something that they were feeling, that they were experiencing, right? And of course, in history, humankind started experiencing so many different ways of just express feelings, ideas, values. If you think to pyramids, right? Of course, also connected to religion. And then, with the passing of the time, of course, we started fixing these concepts, these ideas, on a more structured level, right? Think to Leonardo, for instance. But not only. We started thinking that we probably have to build special places where we can express special ideas, special feelings. What is that? This is kind of church, probably is the most famous place connected to a church. What is that? What is it? In a very, very unknown town called Rome. I come from Rome. Okay, this is the Vatican. This is the Sistine Chapel. Okay? Here is the place where, when they have to vote for a new pope, all the cardinals go there. Why? They go there and they don't go to a conference room in an hotel. More comfortable, no? Because there is something else than just the walls or the painting on the walls. Of course, it's not just about Christians, right? The humankind realized that in order to not only promote certain ideas, but to really develop certain feelings, ideas, concepts, well, we need some special places. Everywhere in the world, in Asia. Of course, it's not just about a building. It might be a statue, it might be a painting, right? If you can think to all the statues that we can find in churches, of course, then later also in museums. At a certain point, because we started having so many statues, so many paintings, so many pieces of art, we said, maybe it's time also to bring them together in a place, just to preserve them. And of course, we started discovering many different languages, not just painting, not just about sculpting, music. It's a language that we have created, right? To express what? Well, so many different things. I'm happy, I write a song. I'm sad, I write a song. I love a woman, I wrote a piece of music for her, etc., etc. Italian, we're very good. I'll tell you the secrets later. And then, also, of course, because we created this language, we need special venues where we can actually experience at the best this language. A theater, an opera house, a concert hall, a place where you go to listen to this specific language. If you think I'm talking a very obvious thing, if you want, but sometimes it's important to just reconsider all this. Books, of course, right? I had a very good idea. You know what? I'm writing down, because I want this idea to be shared, right? Of course. Then, because we had so many ideas, bad or good ideas, we need places where we can actually store all these ideas, or these books, or these pages. Now, what's happening when we try to destroy what we have created, right? Right now, I was talking about something that we built. Physical or non-physical, like it is for music. Non-physical, sometimes we call it, right? Product. Music is in the air. Of course, the score is material, but music is in the air. A statue is much more physical. What's happening when we destroy what we have created? What is that? Let's try to guess. It's not easy to guess. We may say it's an historical place, right? It's not a contemporary building.
Take a guess, guys. Damascus?
Yes, this is Damascus. This is in the city of Damascus in Syria. And what is it? It's a square, but you see some buildings. It's a mosque. Right. This was considered to be one of the oldest, a mosque, right? In Damascus, in the city of Damascus. This is the same place today. You know that over the last years in Syria, there was a very, very terrible war. And the damage of this war, of course, primarily where many, many people, they lose their life, but also, of course, the city and the heritage, historical heritage, were seriously damaged. So we see that something is wrong, right? We like this picture, we don't like this picture. Why? Just because of the colors? No, because we understand, we feel that there was harmony, there was beauty. No more beauty, no more harmony. Of course, it's not just about war. It's not just about the damage that the humankind make to this heritage. This is a photo from 1966 from Florence, the city of Florence. Where is it? In? Italy. Okay, right. What happened here? Fortunately, it was not a bomb, one of the many bombs that exploded in Italy. That was not the case. It was, what is that? It's a river. This river was a flood. It was a very, very big flood. And, well, this flood not only destroyed, of course, the walls, but it also invaded the churches, the museums. And so this water started destroying the paintings, the books that were saved inside these buildings. Also in the recent days, of course, you all know, this is Kathmandu, Nepal, earthquake. Boom. Destroyed completely a lot of monuments, historical buildings. In Italy, unfortunately, we have a lot of earthquakes, which of course primarily destroyed life, unfortunately, but they also destroy our past. So this was a small village, beautiful village in the center of Italy. In 2 minutes, boom, hundreds of years of history, they went down. But sometimes also men are crazy, not only nature. These guys are very crazy, fortunately. This is in Afghanistan. You see here we have a very, very tall statue of Buddha. You can see how much is high. Well, these guys, because they don't like this religion, they say, okay, let's make this statue explode. Thinking that if they're going to destroy the statue, they're going to destroy some ideas. They're going to destroy the religion behind this statue. And even more sad, I think you all saw these terrible, sad images coming from Syria a few years ago. What he's doing is making some homework. No, as you can see here, this is not like a normal wall in a private house. This is a very, very old part of an archaeological site. This guy he actually destroyed many parts of this historical wall. Why? Because he was thinking, you know what, if I'm going to touch you in a very specific, part of your soul, which is not just related to your body, I'm going to kill you. But I want to actually touch your history, your heritage, your traditions. It's so bad, and I have to say that's why this kind of terrorism is very, very new, used to be new. Ultimately, we actually reacted very quickly to this kind of terrorism, right? But this is new. We used to do like that, actually Romans, Christians, they used to do like that thousands of years ago. But then, with civilization, if you think also to the Second World War, also the Nazis, they were absolutely out of their mind, but they were preserving the arts, right? Like if art is something is superior to humankind. These guys are actually destroying art. And it happens also in our cities. This is a part of a statue in the center of Rome. As you can imagine, we have so many statues, luckily, but as we were saying before, it's a big responsibility nowadays. It's a big responsibility nowadays to have so much cultural heritage to preserve, to maintain alive. Every day we have to pray that hopefully an historical building is not going to fall down. No? But also here, sometimes just a crazy guy was drinking maybe too much beer, said that, you know what, I'm going to destroy part of this statue, just to have fun. This is part of the Colosseum. You all know the Colosseum, right, guy? I'm lucky, almost every day I walk by the Colosseum. And one day we were walking by the Colosseum, and something was not like, maybe this is not from the Romans, right? And you see how much this is really unacceptable, right? We accept this kind of graffitis like on the walls. Luckily, it became also a very special, nice form of art, graffiti itself. This is even terrible. It's not nice at all. But even if it was a very, very nice graffiti by Bansky, for instance, maybe it's not the right place where you can do a graffiti. This is one of the famous square that we have in Rome, Piazza di Spagna. What happened here? There was a party. This was a football match. These guys were from, I think, a British, I don't want to be, no, I'm sure, I'm honest, British club, wherever. They were so excited that they said, you know what, I'm going to destroy this square, just because I want to show up my happiness about being here in Rome. How do we react to all this different kind of alteration of harmony, of beauty? Going back to the Florence, 96, the flood, the devastation. It was impressive, the reaction of people like us, like you, young people. They said, we have to do something, even if we are not from Florence. So many, many young Italians from other cities, but also from all over the world, also from America, and I'm sure also some Canada was there. They went to Florence. There was no social media at that time, of course. So as you can imagine, with the news, with the television, they heard the news and they say, we have to go there to save manuscript, paintings. Because even if I'm not from Florence, this is part of my heritage, it's part of what I am. If we are going to lose this, we are going to lose a piece of humanity. And it's impressive, the reaction of humankind. In the end of the day, we're such good guys everywhere. This is the earthquake in Italy of Of course, first of all, you're going to save life, right? This is the first reaction that a human being has, to save another human being. But then, of course, we have to save our history. So the church fell down. Well, what we can save? A bell. Same in Kathmandu, right? There, maybe they have less tools to react. So they have normal citizen, grandmother was bring some bricks. The statue in Rome, the day after, is not acceptable. The day after, I'm going to fix this. It is not going to stay like this for months. Maybe we have holes in the street for years, right? And Rome is full, but it's not acceptable that you destroy a statue. It's not acceptable that you make a graffiti on the Colosseum. The same day, and you see, it was a shame. They actually say, we don't have to show the people that we have a graffiti on the Colosseum. Right? It's such a terrible thing. Let's fix it quickly, cover while we are doing. Who is this guy? Well, this guy was the director of the museum, the same museum where we saw the picture before of the guy with the hammer in Syria. Well, this guy lost his life because of the terrorists, because of Daesh, trying to do what? He actually he saved many, many pieces that, of course, could be transported, moved. So he saved many historical pieces from the rage, from the violence of Daesh. This is again Florence. But this is not coming from Florence or from Italy. It comes from the museum, from Palmyra, the city in Syria. This was an initiative of the European Union. This arch traveled all over capitals and cities in Europe to tell the people what? This is not just Syrian piece of marble. This is not just an arch. This is part of what we are. And you can destroy wherever you want, but you're not going to destroy who we are. Buddha, you remember the crazy guy that made it exploded? They decided not to rebuild it, but they projected, which is even more symbolic, right? You destroyed the statue, we are still here. It's not going to be enough, a hammer, to destroy thousands, hundreds of years of civilization. What is that? Where we are? Where are we? London? From the buses, maybe? We are in London. Where? When? This is not such a common photo, right? Such a damage in London. This is from which period? 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s? This is a photo from 43, 44, 1943, 1944. Nazis were bombing London. For us, for our generation, is still so strange to think that someone was bombing a city like London. Someone, like if someone is going to bomb on Montreal, unbelievable, right? This is going to happen just 70 years ago. Well, during that period, the ministries of education of different countries of Europe who were against the Nazis, included UK, they decided to meet. So the ministries of education. And they said, what we can do? It's not just about a political problem, a financial problem, a war problem. It's not about just the military here, the armies. What we can do as Ministry of Education? They thought that a solution for this nightmare, which was the Second World War, was actually to building a body, an organization that can act not only on the war policy, let's say, but on education, on what we teach our kids in the schools. Eventually, a few years after, they founded UNESCO. Have you heard about this organization? What is UNESCO? What UNESCO stands for? U is about United Nations, education, science, culture, organization. Correct. So it's the organization of UN that works on education, science, and culture. Why we need such kind of organization? Why right after the Second World War, between 45 and 46, many countries get together to say, guys, we need to build such kind of organization? Well, the answer is in the preamble of the Constitution of UNESCO. See, the governments of the states parties, so the funding parties, to this constitution on behalf of their people, so on behalf of their countries, they declare, since wars begin in the minds of men, it is in the minds of men that the defenses of peace must be constructed. So it's because what happened, the bombs in London, the genocide, all the crazy, terrible things that happened during the Second World War, happened because of men, because we actually wanted to make these actions. Well, it's in the minds of men that we have to create the defense of peace. How? Well, working on education, first of all. If we don't get together to define a common policy for promoting education all over the world, most probably we will still face terrible situations like the Second World War. And of course, we know that UNESCO wasn't enough. If we have still today what is happening in the Middle East, maybe it's not enough. Anyway, let me tell you very quickly about UNESCO. You probably heard about UNESCO, especially for the World Heritage Program, right? There are so many World Heritage sites around the world. What is a World Heritage site? Have a look at this. This is a map. Nowadays, there are more or less 1,000 heritage around the world that UNESCO nominated as World Site Heritage. What is a World Site Heritage? Any ideas? Well, it's exactly what we were saying before. Colosseum, the city center of Rome, is not just nice for the Romans. It's not just important for the Italians. It's not just meaningful for the Europeans. It's actually something that represents the humanity, the entire humanity, right? So it's a World Heritage Site. It's a heritage of everybody. And as you can see, you guys have also something here, right? The green is natural. You guys in Canada have some natural World Heritage Site. So it's not just the monuments, the historical sites that UNESCO says these are expression of the entire humankind. It's also, of course, about our world. Natural sites that are so amazingly beautiful that we have to preserve them. And then UNESCO understood that it's also important to save and preserve the intangible heritage. What is the intangible heritage? Language, traditions, music, different expressions of human beings around the world. Dialects. If you're not going to preserve them, they're going to die. Or someone is going to destroy them with the force, with the violence, right? But let's have an example of what UNESCO is doing with us, with young people. Well, a few years ago, they launched this campaign, Unite for Heritage. We, together, unite for heritage. And it's nice, no? The photo is very meaningful. We are our heritage. So they launched a campaign which, basically they were saying, asking all of us to be active citizens, to play a role in defending our heritage in many different ways. You want to host an event in one of your historical sites. You want to produce content online. You take a photo of Colosseum and you post it on Instagram. You want to donate if you can, etc., etc. This lady, she is the former Director General of UNESCO, and she was putting a very important signature here, which is actually connected to Italy. They actually created a very professional task force of military, which is led by Italians, army. Those are Italian soldiers in Syria. Because of course, you have to go there, you sometimes have to fight, not only to save life, but also to save the heritage. And it's also nice to know that the chief of this task force is a woman, a young woman. And this is the general of the task force in the United Nations in New York. They basically, thanks to him and to UNESCO, approved for the first time in UN a resolution for creating a global task force for acting also military to save the cultural heritage. This is UNESCO. The headquarters is in Paris. You see so many flags. Those are all countries, and Canada, of course, is somewhere here, all countries that they believe in the importance to get together to preserve cultural heritage, but also to promote education, science. This is us. This is me without beard. I want to show you this photo. We're not so much. We're like, here we were almost 100, now we are 300. We created an association in Italy, which is the Youth Association for UNESCO. So we said, what we can do, we, as young citizens, Italian citizens, we want to contribute to promote these ideas, these values. We created an association which became the biggest association for youth association for UNESCO in the world, and we started making projects in our cities, in our regions. We started fundraise, we started lobbying with institutions, we launched a program in the school, so we went, as young people, inside the schools to talk about these topics in our way, with our language. So we reached thousands of students, and you know, this photo is not to show up, there's nothing to show up at all. This lady, she's the Director General of UNESCO. This is just an example of, because sometimes these big international organizations seem too far from us, no? Like, how can I interact with the Director General of UNESCO of UN? Do something. Start from your city, your country, and then they will need you, because you can make a difference. It's not vice versa. You need them, no? So we actually interact at the highest level with UNESCO. And this is the way, of course, we supported, you know, I told you about the Unite for Heritage campaign. You see here many more young people, they joined forces to start promoting these initiatives. And this is a most small delegation in Paris at the headquarters, when all the other member states, they wanted to hear our story, say, how you guys made it. Because it's something very strange, no? Unfortunately and surprisingly, that young people without resources, they can actually make something with hundreds of young people. But it's not just about money. It's actually, first of all, about the courage and determination. Sometimes our generation, we are too afraid of not being able to do something, right? We don't have enough tools. We don't have enough opportunities. Guys, we have to take action, first of all. This is a very, of course, small example, but you can translate this example in so many different ways. So this is the first part of our talk, and now we are going to move to music diplomacy. But I wanted to transfer to you guys this experience and these very basic, if you want, ideas about the importance of cultural heritage. Do you have any questions, any comments before we move ahead? please.
I was wondering, how do you encourage countries that have a bad track record for destroying previous cultural communities, heritage, for example, Canada and the Native Nations? How do you encourage them to perhaps change their approach to that?
Right. Well, I think that, for instance, over the last 20, 30 years, there was a very, very strong shift in the mentality of the people, especially also here in Canada, from what I know, of course. There is something that this is not more acceptable for us, no? The new generation, because we are exposed to so many information because of the social media. You know, if something like someone destroys a statue in Syria 2 hours after, everyone knows it in the world, right? So it's not more acceptable that certain things are happening in a certain country. There is a kind of international reaction. This is why also we have UN, UNESCO, right? Because we need sometimes to talk as one country, as one word, right? So this is, if you want, the nice aspect of being a global world. That the best, let's say, results that we achieved through democratic process to the evolution of our institutions now is a standard, and we can go lower. You can't do graffiti on the Colosseum. You can't do a graffiti in an historical building here in Montreal. There will be an immediate reaction. And it's not just about the graffiti, of course, it's the meaning. Of course, you guys understand what we are talking about, right? If you do a graffiti on the Colosseum, you're doing a graffiti on the humankind. You're destroying, right, the beauty of the most important things that we have achieved in terms of civilization.
Any other question before the video? Yes.
Well, languages are among the most beautiful things that humans have built, and they are very intangible, and they are disappearing by the day. What is your
I missed the first word, sorry.
languages?
Languages.
Are a creation of humanity that is one of the greatest beauties and instruments.
It's true.
And they are disappearing quite quickly. And some
It's
are
true.
receding, such as Italian.
It's
the
true.
French language as well. And so what is your position on
It's
this?
true.
How is UNESCO?
UNESCO is trying to work very hard also on the intangible heritage, as I was showing very quickly before. So we understand this need of safeguarding all these very, very old, ancient form of expression of the humankind. And of course, dialects and language are the basis of our way we express. There are different programs, of course, for different parts of the world. In Africa, they're trying, of course, to promote certain kind of projects or programs. Mostly in general, of course, guys, this is a problem, especially of technology. Because with technology, we are going a certain direction, which is, in a very easy way, we have to understand very quickly. Everybody have to understand everything, right? You open Facebook, you don't have time to waste. You want to understand immediately what's going on in the world. On the other hand, we are trying to save books, to save manuscripts, to go in the villages, to talk with the very old representative of a very old group of local citizens, to record maybe the last words of a very old language. Of course, the challenge is to use technology also to preserve the heritage. And this is something that, for instance, Google is doing very well. Google, they created the Cultural Institute. Maybe you heard about that. They started to digitalize many, many pieces of arts, books. So you go on Google Cultural Institute for free, you can access many thousands of theaters, museums. So, of course, we are trying to discover how technology can help us also to preserve languages. It's, of course, we are in a very, very crucial moment. We are close to lose a lot of things that used to be in our daily life, in many parts of the world.
Any other question for the second part? So what you're about to do is presenting a video, right?
Right.
Can you explain?
Sure. I'm going to show you guys a video which basically is a very short interview to different artists from different countries of the world. This is a video that we decided with the other organization I founded for promoting music diplomacy. So now we are going to talk about music diplomacy. The organization is EMMA for Peace. EMMA stands for Euro-Mediterranean Music Academy for Peace. And the idea of this organization is to promote music diplomacy mainly between Europe and the Middle East. Now I will tell you more, but first of all, let's see this video which was made a few years ago during the summer. So it was August. There was another very strong act of violence in Palestine. You know, all the fight between Israel and Palestine, and we in the Mediterranean, we feel it very, of course, we are very sensitive to this situation. What we can do? You know, everyone was on vacation. We wait for September to say something. No, I said, you know what? Just took your iPhone, say something that you want to share as a musician, as an artist. Don't improvise to be a politician, of course. That was the result.
This difficult time of conflicts and violence spreading around the world at the speed of light, I'm sending a message of peace. And as a musician, I'm urging every single person out there to remember a basic skill of communication and of human ability, which is hearing. Start listening to each other and changing our world into a better place.
My clarinet cannot feed the hungry, it cannot protect a child, it cannot rebuild a destroyed home, and it cannot stop a bullet. But I hope that it can inspire, and it can possibly heal a wounded soul. After all, it's my voice. I'm gonna keep my voice loud and clear.
Music has the power to unite people beyond ideological beliefs. This earth, this life on earth can be so beautiful. A true paradise. Let us together create a better world. Through music.
Please stop the war. We don't need the war. We need peace. We need love for the humanity. Please make art and replace the war with art. Make music and save the world through art.
We as musicians, we have a responsibility to bring a message of peace and a message of love through this beautiful universal language. And so I'm just saying that loudly. Please, stop it.
Recently, we've all witnessed a very worrying amount of violence throughout the Middle East and even in Europe. But as a musician, I believe in peace, simply because without silence, we wouldn't be able to make music. And without peace, harmony between us cannot exist.
I think we should work on fundraising. We should even just play music for the people so that they feel more human. And by the light of the music, we can reduce the evil, the amount of evil happening in the world.
Vorrei che il canto delle persone che amano la pace sopraffacesse il rumore osceno della guerra. Mi rendo conto che è un sogno, ma senza sogni e senza speranza la vita non può essere vissuta.
With respect to the crises going on in the world today, I only have one phrase, and I think it's an important one. Make music, not war. Life would be better for everyone. Thank you.
So when we launched this, of course, you say, this is really going to make an impact, or listening to musicians saying, we love peace, stop war, is going to change something? No. I'm sure it's not going to change. But what we were actually reminding, first of all, we were reminding to the musicians that they have a social role, which is not just playing a concert, go on stage and play a concert. It's actually, you as an artist, you can actually transfer ideas, values to the society in many different ways, with your instrument, but also when you put your violin, your clarinet, your guitar on the table, still you have a lot of followers, still people is going to listen to you because there is a kind of special connection between the audience and an artist, right? And music, many of them, they remind that music is a universal language. Let's start from here. And again, I love to start from the very, very beginning. So this is a very common situation for all of us, right? Have you guys ever thought, what is the first of the senses that we activate still when we are inside the body of our mom? Well, according to scientists, I'm not a scientist, one of the very first sense that we activate is hearing. That's why, of course, now the connection with the voice of our mom, right? So it's like we are so inclined to listen to the word. What is that? This is the famous Tower of Babel, right? What is the symbol of the Tower of Babel? What is the representation, the allegory? Back in the past, there is this idea that the humankind were using just one language. We were all speaking just one language. And because of that, we were building the tower of knowledge. But then, when something went wrong, and according to the myth, God destroyed this idea of making the tower, and as a punishment, what did he do? Created disorder through what? Through different languages. Because of different languages, we couldn't be able to interact so easily anymore. This is, of course, might, but it's also kind of true in a certain way. How many languages do we speak nowadays? We were talking about languages in the world. Spanish, French, Italian, English, Chinese, Japanese. How many? 10, 20, 50? Well, this is, again, according to statistics, scholars, more or less, is the number of alive languages, included dialects, that we speak all around the world. 7,000 more languages. It's a lot, if you think, right? Is there one language still today that we can use as a kind of universal language? English, of course, according to the standards, international standards, is considered to be the global language, but also French, of course, Spanish. Music is considered to be the universal language. Why? Well, because it's very simple. If now I'm going to speak in Italian, you guys are not going to follow me anymore. Proviamo. Se adesso comincio a parlare in italiano, magari lui che ha la maglietta della Juventus, I'm saying, maybe nobody from you can understand me, maybe he has the t-shirt of Juventus, can follow me, but... So you see, it's very easy to understand each other, ma è molto semplice anche non capirci. I can switch language and you guys don't follow me anymore. But if now I'm going to play a piece of music with a piano, with a guitar, it doesn't matter if I come from Italy, you come from Canada or US, wherever, right? You just feel something, a reaction, positive, bad reaction, but you feel something. Well, this is something, again, that humankind, they realized many, many, many years ago. This is considered to be the first musical instrument, again, according to scientists and scholars and musicologists, ethnomusicologists. This is a flute from thousands of years ago, a bone of an animal. So at that time, the humankind, they realized that they could actually produce sounds through some tools. And since then, they started developing this language. This is the first music score. Not such a light music score, right? It's a stone. This has been found in Syria. It's funny, said, that, for instance, the first music scores are coming from a country that now is destroying all this cultural heritage. And of course, we started structuring this language, right? This is an image from a priest, Italian priest, who actually was the person who defined what? The notes. Using the fingers, he created the system that then became what we have actually adopted today, the 7 notes. And then, of course, we know that many men, women, not so much women, unfortunately, well, at least accordingly to the history books, they haven't actually reported about many women composers, but we know actually that there were, likely. Of course, in more recent years, we have so many great women musicians. But, well, this is, let's say, the main history of music, classical music, you know, from Vivaldi, Italy, Bach, Germany, and so on, Mozart, Beethoven, Rossini, Chopin, Wagner, Verdi, wherever. So from different countries, they, of course, express themselves with music. And still today, we are here playing, listening to their music. But it's not just about one composer that writes a symphony or a piece for piano, right? But we also, our countries, they use music to represent what? Their identity, right? The national anthem, for instance, the French national anthem, right? We want to sing, to play our identity. And also, you may know, also the European Union in 1972, they adopted one of the most famous pieces, the Ode to Joy of Beethoven, as anthem of Europe. So it's not just we are using music to celebrate the identity of a country, we actually use music to celebrate the identity of a union, of the European Union. It's not just about, of course, classical music. We are talking from the Western perspective. But if you think to all the different genres of music, even, of course, the most recent one, jazz, blues, hip-hop, soul, disco, and of course, it's all influence coming from all different kind of places of the world. If you think to the jazz, right, came in this part of the world through the slaves, no, to the people that were having a very hard time, and then it transformed in rock, in pop, in what we're listening today with our iPods, iPhone, on streaming, etc., etc. So from this to that, what is that? This is a very deluxe edition of something, of Michael Jackson. What is it? If you can read here, The Sounds of Earth, where you can find these recordings, which stores? In the space. If you want to buy this score, you have to take shuttle. Because in the 70s, the NASA, they launched the Voyager satellite in the space, who is still traveling somewhere. And inside the satellite, who is trying to study what is the universe, they actually inserted these 2 gold recordings. What's inside these 2 recordings? Data about our history, our science, physics, mathematics, but also music. Because they said, well, if someone is going to find, they have to listen to our music, because it's part of what we are, who we are. So they inserted pieces from Bach, but also Johnny B. Good. So maybe somewhere in a part of the universe, someone is listening to Johnny B. Good. Who knows? What is making music? Well, you can make music in different ways, right? If I start doing like that, it's rhythm, and now someone from you guys can start singing over it. So it's very easy to make music. I can make music alone. I'm not a good singer at all, so I was not going to do it. But especially you can make music together, right? If you're talking about classical music, what's the best expression of making music together? In an orchestra. So you have different musicians with different instruments, with different ideas, with different lives, with different problems, with different feelings. They come together, and they are just one. Choir, same things. Different voices, men, women, together, become a group. Of course, it's not just in Europe, on the Western side. You can be a band in many different ways. No? Talking about band. What is the social impact of being together with music? Well, it's just amazing, as you can imagine. It's not just being an orchestra, being a band. It's actually giving the opportunity to many, many people to learn how to listen. You remember we were talking about this is the first sense that we activate. Well, music, of course, gives us the opportunity to develop more and more this sense and use it also in a very social way. Why? Because if you play in an orchestra, you have to listen to yourself, to what you say with your instrument, but also what is saying, right? The fellow close to you. And there are many different examples, of course, of how music can make a positive impact on our communities, on our society. This is a normal photo of an orchestra, right? But this is a special orchestra. This is Daniel Barenboim, a very famous conductor, who understood what? That using the model of an orchestra, we can actually bring together people who usually are not together. Like in this photo, you have Jewish, you have Palestinian and Arabs musicians. You can recognize any difference? Not at all, right? Because there are no differences. But for many, many other reasons, these young people, they can't meet so easily when they are at their home. And there are so many different examples of how, for instance, an orchestra can represent a way for a community to promote something positive, even in the more disadvantaged situation, right? Look at this photo. This is the first all-black national orchestra. Nothing special, right? But it's actually not so common, strangely, to see an all-black orchestra. And this is from Congo, and look at them. They are so proud of being a team, like a soccer team, but with music instruments. And of course, they practice and they work in very disadvantaged situations, but you don't need a fancy concert hall to become a musician. Of course, this is why we are so lucky to have, for instance, here there is a beautiful conservatoire, to learn music in such a safe environment. There is another system who is very, very famous. It's called El Sistema in Venezuela. They actually used the orchestra model to save kids from the streets, from poor families who they gave them an opportunity. Instead of being all the time in the street, and at a certain point it will happen that a gang will actually approach you and give you a gun, we give you an instrument. Come in our orchestra. This orchestra became actually one of the most brilliant orchestras in the world. And you can play music even if you don't have music instruments. In Bolivia and Peru, they actually built instruments from garbage. You see? In Middle East, they actually created the all-women orchestra of blind women in Egypt. Because music, of course, goes also beyond the physical limitation that sometimes we have. If you think now is the very famous blind musician, he's an Italian one, Andrea Bocelli, not the singer. Music and musicians can play a social role, we were saying. Look at this photo. Where are we? There's Mickey Mouse, we are Disneyland, where we are? Berlin Wall. Who is this guy? Rachmaninoff. No, Rachmaninoff was a Russian composer, but he's Russian. Rostropovich, similar, the name. Rostropovich used to be one of the great cellists from Russia. Why this guy was so famous? He was playing in all the big concert halls all over the world, took his cello with a chair, and he went there. Again, there was no social media, no Instagram, so be sure that he was doing this not because of he wanted to have thousands of likes on Facebook, right? He felt the need to say, you know what? Okay, I'm not a politician, but I have something to say. This is my way of saying, contributing to the cause of saying, we don't need this wall. Who is this guy? Right? He was so famous that he didn't even need to play, right? He was using his art without playing, basically. Why? Because he realized, if I open my bedroom to the journalists, they will come here, the news will go around all over the world very quickly. So he created this bed talk, no? From his bed, he was saying, peace, stop the war in Vietnam. He was a politician? Not at all. But he was a very famous artist, and he realized that. And he said, I can use the fact that I'm famous to promote the ideas, the values of peace that thousands, millions of people in the world are trying to communicate. If you think to the big concerts, the pop concerts, you have thousands of people that go there to sing a song. It's so difficult nowadays for a leader to bring to a speech thousands of people, right? Maybe your fantastic leader can do it, Prime Minister, maybe Obama, but very few enlightened leaders have this power of attract so many people. Music is a completely different way. If you go to a Coldplay concert, you have thousands of people going there, paying to go there. Of course, we realize this power of music that has to get together people. If you think to Woodstock, if you think to Live Aid, right? This series of concerts that they were organized to promote the campaign against AIDS, HIV. Music can do something also where there is war, where there is no beauty, right? We were talking before, when there is an alteration of the harmony in our cities, in our communities. Actually, we can do something as musicians, as artists. We have to do something. You remember the interview to the musicians. The clarinetist is from Syria. He's one of the most famous musicians from Syria. So he's talking about something that he knows very well. He lost members of the family, friends, colleagues. He had to leave the country. And he's saying, I know that with my clarinet, I cannot stop the war. I cannot help my people to rebuild home. But he said something very touchy, right? He said, this is my voice. This is the way I have to communicate with the world. So I want to use it in a very loud and clear way. And many times we see pictures like that, right? During protests, at a certain point, there is a piano, or someone who is playing music. And it's actually, we don't feel the audio, but you see the power of this photo. You see that this instrument it's like a gun, but it's not a violent gun, right? It's a weapon. Music is actually able to touch us in a very strong way. This is also square in Istanbul. No? And there was this pianist during some protests in a square who became the main microphone, right? We don't have any much words. Please play music to express what we want to express. This is in Baghdad, in Iraq. This is a very important Iraqi cellist. What happened here, a few hours before, another bomb with a car exploded. This guy as the guy in Berlin took his cello and he went there. Of course, it's not going to change anything, but actually, he wanted to recreate beauty, to recreate harmony with this music. This is the Paris. You remember, of course, the tragic attack in the club. The following morning, this French musician, he took his piano there and he played Imagine by John Lennon. You can say, who needs this? All of us, we need this to say, as it was for the statue, you can destroy a statue, you can put a bomb in a club. It's not going to stop us. It's not going to stop humanity to have this positive vision of life, of the future. It's not stop to have hope. And I'm going to tell this with music. So, what we can do, again, if we are artists, I think that we should rediscover this social role, this power that we have. And if you see around you, many artists are actually realizing again, as it was in the 60s, in the 70s, John Lennon, Bob Dylan, hundreds of musicians, they were using their instruments to promote values, ideas. Then, something happened. Many musicians actually, they thought much more about just the business for many different reasons, and it's too long now to share my vision about that. Maybe later we can talk about that. But what we can do, I'm a violinist, but I turned to become a manager. At a certain point, I said, okay, what can I do in my very small way? Well, I created Emma for Peace, this organization, non-profit organization that basically goes to many musicians from Europe and Middle East, say, hey, you remember, you have a duty. You have a duty because you are a creator of harmony, you are a creator of beauty. So please do something, which is not just playing a concert. So we started doing a lot of projects around the Europe and the Middle East, and I want just to tell you, to conclude, these projects that we made in Malta, which is a small island in the center of the Mediterranean, which is a very hot spot because many refugees coming from Africa, from the Middle East, they stop to Malta or they stop in Italy. So this is also something that really touched me and many other Italians and Mediterranean citizens, because every day we watch the news, we see 500, 2,000 refugees just arrived in the city of Palermo, just arrived in Malta. And now what's going on? What do we do? What we can do? Well, this is the motto of the organization. We believe now that if music speaks, everybody understands. So we can interact very easily, very quickly with music. It's not enough, but at least it's a way to interact and collaborate together in a very quick way, even if we are coming from very different backgrounds. So in Malta, we involved the local young musicians of the Youth National Orchestra, and for the first time, we involved many young Africans that were staying at the local refugee camp, and we actually gave them the opportunity for 1 month to work together, to organize a concert, which was then a public concert. It was very interesting. Of course, we had many professional senior musicians involved, but we actually give them the opportunity to the young local musicians and to our friends from Africa to just find their way to work together. And it was, at the beginning, of course, it was not so easy for them because they were coming from different backgrounds, different music education, etc., etc. But then, very quickly, very easily, they found their way. This is actually a Greek, you may remember from the video, a Greek conductor, who in the end, he was not conducting, he was playing a drum. And then, it was funny because one of the African group basically took the lead. And he became the conductor in a very natural way, as just demonstration that there are no pre-established roles. And in the end, they organized this public concert as one orchestra, as one band, as one group. It was about the music, it was about the concert? No. It was about the process, of course. They spent time every day together for 1 month, And of course, when they stopped, these guys, they start talking. They were curious to know, who are you? Where are you coming from? Why you are here in Malta? And it was very emotional to listen to the stories. This guy, he narrated, told about the story of his trip from Africa to Malta. He lost a couple of friends. He was going to die too. He managed to get there. He got a degree in Africa. He wanted to find this way in Europe, but he was staying since weeks, maybe months, in this camp, and it was considered by the local community as something to keep aside. Through music, you know, it was very natural. There was no difference. The only difference was the instruments, but then you find a way to make music together. So, in the end of the day, this is a small demonstration how people coming from different communities, different backgrounds, can actually facilitate this interaction. Of course, this is just a small contribution, it's a small drop in the ocean, but it's a demonstration that each of us, in our different positions, can actually take a role, play a role, and make a small positive impact on our communities, also through music, through cultural projects, through education. That's it. Do you have any questions? Thank you.
Question? You good? Yes, no?
Is there any musician here in the room? What do you play? The upright bass. Piano. Piano. Electric bass. We have a drummer.
In fact, it's harpsichord, if you know what it is.
Harpsichord, of course. Do we have someone who plays percussion? I need the upright bass player. Please, can you come here? Yeah, we need some rhythm. So, what's your name again? Marcel. I'm Marcel. Marcel, why is so important the upright bass in jazz music, in pop? Why the bass is so important?
It's actually the base of the harmony. In jazz, actually, more in solos, it's all going to be about the harmony. So when I do a walking bass, the people can feel the harmony, and even by doing the walking bass, you can still feel the changes in chords.
Right. But what about if you're going to play alone a song, just you? People will have the feeling of the entire song?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
As a bass player, no.
Okay, correct. Why I'm saying this? It's like the orchestra, right? Upright basses actually are also present in the orchestra. Usually they're staying in this side of the stage. You have these guys working with these very big instruments, right? They are playing the very basic of the harmony, as Marcel is saying. If you took them off, like the orchestra, it doesn't feel really stable because you don't have these low frequencies, right? That are saying, we are playing these harmonies. If you just have them on the stage, you don't understand nothing. You just listen to a very small part of the entire piece. It might be a symphony, it might be a jazz piece, it might be a rock song. So what I'm saying, guys, it's like society. A band, an orchestra is like our society. The combination of all of us make us a great orchestra, a great band. And you understood this very clearly here in Canada, over the last years especially, that is because of our diversity that we can make an amazing music, a special music, right? There are certain countries, even in Europe, for instance in Italy, some people now is saying, no, we need just Italian musicians in our orchestra. We need just Italian players in our band, because we want to make real Italian music. What is that? Music is music, right? You are the best demonstration here. You guys are so diverse, so rich in your diversity, and you are expressing yourself as one country, as one orchestra, as one band. So it's such old-fashioned, the idea of to express our country in the best way, we just have to be Canadian, just to be Italians, just to be French, right?
Okay.
Thank you, Marcel.
Merci. Thank you so much, Paolo.
Thank you.
Although it was not really a classic presentation like we used to have, it was really refreshing for me anyway to transfer music knowledge in a very different meaning. Thank you so much. On va reprendre après la pause à 3h45 pour la dernière présentation. Merci beaucoup.
Merci.